In the last chapter, respiration, I told you that exchange of gases between tissue cells and blood capillary, it take place with the help of tissue fluid. Direct blood capillary, it do not come in contact with the tissue cell, and the fluid present in between the blood capillary and the tissue cell is known as tissue fluid or interstitial fluid. So let's start with the tissue fluid or interstitial fluid. So what do you mean by tissue fluid or interstitial fluid? As the name indicate, the fluid present in the spaces, this is the space, the fluid present in the spaces existing between the cells in the tissues is called tissue fluid or interstitial fluid. And what is its function? That it help in the exchange of material between the blood capillary, or you can say between the blood and the tissue cells. Then what it consists of? This is the blood capillary. Why it is arterial capillary written here? Arterial means which carry oxygenated blood to the tissue cell. Now the tissue capillary, it is very thin. It has one cell wall thickness. One cell thickness it has, its wall. Now all the substances like glucose, carbon dioxide, electrolytes, amino acid, fatty acids, they oozes out from this blood capillary into the tissue fluid. And what remain inside the arterial capillary? RBC, platelet, WBC and large size plasma protein. They remain in the arterial capillary. All other small molecules, they come out into the tissue fluid, and from the tissue fluid they enter into the tissue cells. Now some of this, after some time, this tissue fluid, it is reabsorbed into the blood capillaries. Most of the tissue fluid, it is reabsorbed into the blood capillaries. Some of the tissue fluid, it is collected. Now what happened? That first of all the cell, it will gain all the material, and cell in turn will return its waste material into the tissue fluid, and the blood or the fluid along with the waste material, it enter into the blood vessel, and later on it form venous capillary. Venous means which carry deoxygenated blood. And some of the fluid which do not enter into the blood capillary, that tissue fluid, it collect into the, most of it passes and it collect into the lymphatic capillaries. Here it is written lymph capillary. Small capillary network of lymphatic system is present in the tissue in between the interstitial space. This is known as lymph capillary. So some of the fluid, it enter into the lymph capillary. Now the fluid which enter into the lymph capillary is known as lymph. Tissue fluid and lymph, they are identical as that of the blood plasma, but as compared to the tissue fluid, because lymph, it is coming from the tissue fluid after the exchange of material, so it has abundant of carbon dioxide and other metabolic waste, but it has less amount of nutrients and oxygen. This lymph capillary later on combine to form lymph vessel. Lymph vessels at some region, you have done in your class 10th, they form a swollen structures known as lymph nodes, which are the site for the synthesis of WBC. So you can also say lymph is a colorless mobile fluid which is similar in composition to tissue fluid, but it lack RBC, WBC, RBC, platelet and some plasma protein. It also contain WBC, which is responsible for providing immunity to the person. Now what are the functions of lymph? This is not in your syllabus, but you have done in your class 10th that extra tissue fluid, it drain out into the lymph capillaries. Then it carry nitrogenous waste and carbon dioxide. It in intestine, these lymph capillaries, it form lacteals which absorb the digested fat. WBCs present in the lymph are responsible for the immune response, and it is also an important carrier of hormones and nutrients.